the adib in our tradition is probably, and I've written this somewhere, that it's probably closest to the understanding of a gentleman in the Anglo-Saxon tradition. So this idea of somebody who is very erudite, who's very concerned about decorum, comportment, how they carry themselves. The adib is somebody who has a knowledge of his culture or her culture, their history, the proverbs, has a fund of poetry that they carry around, that they will use in appropriate occasions. It's related to dharafa, which is wit, the dharif, somebody who has wit. So he wrote this book, which is 5 volumes in the Darul Sadr, which is actually a good edition. It's an amazing book. It's a really stunning book. And he goes through all the different ideas that people think about and has chapters on them and has proverbs and poetry and history from all over up until the early 5th century. He's quoting 5th century Hijrah. So he was accused of being a Mu'tazilite. He was also accused of being a Shia, which are real false accusations, because he wrote a book called Kitab al-I'tiqad, and he delineates all of the groups that he considers astray. And so the people that he was accused of being among, he enumerates them in his book. But because of his philosophical bent, because he is a profoundly philosophical thinker, because he clearly had knowledge of the Hellenistic and probably the Indian tradition, and he does use aspects of that. His book, the Dhari'a, is clearly drawn from the Nicomachean Ethics, although probably by way of Miskawayh. Nonetheless, he is considered one of the imams of the people of Sunnah. The great Fakhruddin al-Razi said that he is min a'immat Ahl Sunnah. He's from the imams. In other words, he has a maqam, a station amongst them. And he said, وَقُرِنَا بِأَبِي حَمَدَ al-Ghazali. And he's been linked with Abu Hamid al-Ghazali. And one of the honors that he was given is that Imam al-Ghazali did not travel without his book al-Dhari'a. And it said that he memorized it by rote. One of them, he said about the Dhari'a, مَا أَبْصَرَتْ عَيْنِي وَلَا كَتَبَتْ يَدِي مِثْلَ الذَّرِيعَةِ فِي الشَّرِيعَةِ دَفْتَرًا فرغ فؤادك لالتقاط شذوره واهجر لحفظ فصوله طيب الكرى. So he says that my eye has never seen, nor my hand ever written anything as marvelous as in the Sharia as the book al-Dhari'a. And then he says, so empty your heart to gather its shudur. Shudur are the fragments. The pieces, like shudur al-dhahab, fragments of gold. So to gather it together, those. And leave kara, which is sleep. It's a type of sleep, nu'as. Kara, they say kariya yakri. Kara yakri, kariya yakri, al-walad. Like it's the cry of a baby before they go to sleep. They go off to sleep as they're dozing off. So the kara is like sleep. He says, leave sleep. And then he says that, لا تستغل عن سواه. Don't waste your time with other than it. فكل ما تبغيه من صيد ففي جوف الفرا. Because everything that you want is in the jawf al-fara. Do you know that proverb? Does anybody know that proverb? كل صيد في جوف الفرا. Anybody? So there's a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ actually quoted that proverb. So the proverb comes from, there was a Bedouin, he went out with his tribesmen and they were hunting, and one of them caught a gazelle, another caught a rabbit, and he got a wild donkey, like a himar wahshi, that they call fara. So They were boasting about their rabbit and their gazelle, because a wild donkey is not the best kind of meat for eating, but it's a big animal. It's one of the biggest that they hunted. So he said, "Kullu saydin fi jawfar fara," like all your hunt is in the stomach of my fara. So it's used for when you have something that you don't need anything else. And so Abu Sufyan, radiallahu anhu, when he came to see the Prophet ﷺ, they had to ask for idhn to come in. So ukhira, like he was delayed coming in, and he had to wait for some time, which would be unusual for him because he was Sayyid. Sayyid meaning like a Sayyid of his people. So finally he came in and he said to the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "It looked like you were going to give permission for the rocks to come in of the valley before me." Because rocks are there for a long, long time, right? So the Prophet looked at him and he said, "Oh, that really?" And he said, "Ya Aba Sufyan, kullu saydan fi jawf al-farah." Like you're the one that if they get you, they have everything. So in the commentaries, they say the reason that he said that was he was letting him know that if you have to wait, everybody's going to be fine waiting, like to come in. Because the Prophet, he was busy, a lot of people coming. So the fact that Abu Sufyan had to wait, once that got out, then everybody'd say, "Oh, expect to wait." Because if he waited, then everybody would wait. So that's the position. He also wrote in tafsir. He wrote some amazing 2 volumes of his tafsir have been produced.